Great shot.
I wouldn't have gone down the inside of Michael Schumacher. This is nice.
You got it?
Yeah.
Well out. Yeah, well done. Conversation with Michael about took me out.
Yeah, okay. Oh, here we go. It's not safe here. I didn't even know there was anyone else out there. Oh, and that's my problem. I got out of it and it's gone right.
Get left.
No, I get stand up.
We'll find it.
I just can't stay down. I'd love to be able to do that.
Once in a while they go straight.
Down the middle.
So you obviously grew up with a very famous father.
Yes.
In two-time Formula One world champion.
Yes.
Graham Hill. What was your childhood like?
Okay, so I was taken to racetracks from a very early age. Too early to understand why I was being taken to a racetrack. But gradually, I think, from the age of 5 or 6, you start to realise that people seem to be behaving oddly around my dad, and they don't behave like that around everyone. And you start to understand that there's a thing called fame. And I knew my dad was a lot of fun. I mean, he was charismatic, and anybody who hasn't familiarised himself with the personality that is Graham Hill, then they should do some research. It's now possible on social media to kind of dig in and look up a lot of the stuff that he got up to. Who someone is, yeah. When I was only a year old, he won the World Championship, so I don't remember that. No. That's 1962. But then in 1966, he won the Indy 500. And I remember there was a lot of fuss about that because we had a party at the house when he eventually came back from America, and there was bunting that went up, and there was a big party in the back garden, and there's pictures of me with Jim Clark on my toy tractor. Okay. And I'm pushing him with my dad. And there's the kind of press association pictures from our back garden of the big party. And you remember this? Well, it's sort of weird. I sort of do, but I see the pictures. I've seen the pictures so much that I probably imagine I do remember it. But I probably only really remember mostly probably latterly when I was 7, 8, 9. Okay. From there, I remember going to Grand Prix and being conscious that I was at a racetrack. Right. Yeah. So you were always aware that you grew up, you knew your father was a big deal. I mean, during the time, he was one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time. Well, he was very popular in the 60s. I mean, he was very successful. Yeah. He won 50% of the Monaco Grand Prix. Yeah. So if you put his nickname was Mr. Monaco. Mr. Monaco. So he basically was very large in the 60s. Yeah. And that's the time of the Beatles, of famous film stars, Sean Connery and Peter Sellers and all these things. Yeah. He was in that mix of famous people at that time. So you had a great childhood with your father, and he was seems to be a massive role model and someone you looked up to. And then obviously at the age of 15, your world falls apart. He retires from Formula One. You think you've got out this side. My dad's alive, which at that time was very rare for someone in that era. And then, you're 15 and your father has a plane crash and passed away. What was that kind of time in your life like, and how did you deal with it? Well, to finish your first question off a little bit, I mean, I was much more aware of what was going on in my early teens, obviously. Yeah. And that's when he started this race team. And so I was starting to become interested in the sport. I was interested in what he did, and I used to go to some of the races that were out of school time, and I thought, this is great, this is a race team, this is something interesting. And then, of course, the story is, for people who don't know, he was flying with his team back from a test in the winter, in November in 1975, back from Paul Ricard in France. And they'd been testing the next year's car, and it was all looking very, very promising. And they had the driver, Tony Bryce, with them and everything. The whole team were on the plane, and unfortunately, it crashed, and my dad was flying the plane. So that was a big disaster, as you can imagine. The team was disbanded, we lost our dad, and there was a lot of financial issues around the fact that he was having to raise money to race a team, and the house was mortgaged against it. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine going through that. One thing, you lose a father, the most disastrous thing, and at that time, you really need your father. You're coming into being a man, and you're growing up. Yeah. And then on top of that, the kind of the backlash from it, and all it just must have been an absolutely awful time for you and your family. It was a very dark, long period of doom and gloom, I think is the only way to put it. And having for us to pull ourselves out of it. But of course, for my mum, It was much more difficult at the end of their career. My dad's career, retired from racing, as you said, and she was looking forward to a long life with him and a new life with the race team and so forth. So that was difficult for my mum. I mean, for us, we were still teenagers, so we were obviously distraught, but we have this ability to regenerate, you know, to rebuild, or at least we have the opportunity of a life that we have ahead of us. And I've very much had the attitude that he's not here, but he made something of himself.
Right.
And he didn't have a dad who was a famous dad who could help him, and he made it on his own. And so his legacy to me really was a life lesson, which was, if you want to do something, go and do it and make the best of it, and you don't know where it will lead. So I was motivated, even though he wasn't there. I think he was still an influence on me.
Do you think that if your father was still alive, you would have been a Formula One driver and potentially a world champion? Or do you think it really just made it kind of flipped a switch in your brain, the kind of the kill or be killed kind of thing, and you just...
I don't think I would have felt the need to do it.
Wow.
I don't think I would have felt the urgency to do it. He didn't, in those days, don't forget, Formula One was very dangerous, right up to early 90s, you know, don't forget. Carbon fibre only came in relatively late, but just got the inside out. Thank you.
Wait, you're putting this on.
No, it's not for you, it's for me.
I know, but I was just trying to put it on.
So yeah, my dad, I remember him watching me doing karting when I was younger. I went to some fairground and there was a kart track, and I went round and I was going, what do you think, Dad? You know, I was quick, you know, something. And he sort of went, you know, he gave me one of those,
he didn't really want
this is a problem. Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't get the impression that he really thought it was a good idea for me to be a racing driver. And he was also interviewed once and said he thought he wouldn't like me to be a racing driver. And anyway, he said he thought I was too intelligent to be a racing driver.
Right.
So I'm not sure whether I disappointed him or whether I fulfilled his...
But that is amazing that you're saying that potentially, you know, there's a good chance that you would even go down the Formula One route of...
If he was still alive and he still had the race team, I don't think I would have become.
Do you think it's because potentially you would have had that financial cushion, and then the danger of it, and you know, these kinds of things, and...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, subconsciously, kind of subconsciously. Not I'm saying it's a conscious thing of you, but like, I've got a cushy lifestyle.
Do you know what I don't think I'd have had the courage to say to him,
wow,
I want to go. Maybe I would have done, I don't know. So do I need to cut it round this corner?
Yes.
Yeah, see? Right, that's off.
Back of the stance, keep it low, a little bit of cut.
The back of the stance?
Well, yeah, because you want to keep it low under the branch.
Oh, it just went through the branches.
Yeah, you're out. Safe.
That was lucky, it escaped. It didn't hit the overhang.
Not bad.
Got some height. The wind's going to take it right. It's coming down. Perfect shot. This is the real test of golf, this is. Oh,
go.
God.
Go.
It's way short.
Still a bit short.
I think that's a pretty good effort.
That's a pretty good shot.
I think that's a pretty good effort.
Great effort.
Do you have this at Woburn as well, these big holes?
I don't think we do.
No, they're quite fun actually.
Yeah, it is actually. I mean,
I'll give you that.
I'm all for the, you know,
I didn't think you were going to miss that somehow.
With these big cups. Damon, what I find crazy is you win the championship in '96, and then Frank Williams doesn't want to re-sign you the following year. How does that happen?
I mean, I raced in '96 under the impression that if I was to win the championship, then they would want to keep me. And that was an error of judgment, really, because plans are made well in advance. And it turns out, I think, that they had already signed another driver. And I hadn't done that well in '95. And I think possibly I'd sort of given them the impression that I wasn't up to winning a championship. So it's possible they took precaution in getting a different driver. They thought they'd have a champion in Jacques Villeneuve, who was my teammate.
Coming from IndyCar.
Yeah, and they were right. He won the championship. But they'd signed up Frentzen. Now it may be there was some other reason as well, but whatever. By the time I got to halfway through the season and leading the championship,
I was told I couldn't, under no circumstances. Well, that's not strictly true. They claim that I could have stayed if I had not asked for so much money, but I never asked for any money. So I had a lawyer who was negotiating for me, and I have no idea what went on in that negotiation because I wasn't involved in it.
So you left that to the lawyer. You weren't. So they said you.
They could
the
have
lawyer
picked up
was
the phone
asking.
and gone. They could have picked up the phone and said, "Damon, listen, do you want to stay? Because we'd like to keep you." But they didn't do that. They're constantly planning for the future. Well, it's right in the middle.
Good strike.
There, see, I pulled it. That's the one I'm frightened of the whole time.
Just your quad face got a bit shut.
Yeah, just I don't think I get my left side out of the way, and so it gets stuck, and then it
roll.
It comes across. Yeah.
You won your world championship in '96.
Yeah.
How did your life change after that? Was there a noticeable difference in terms of your life overall as, pre-world champion and then post-world champion?
There's a huge difference between having been a Formula 1 driver, having won Grand Prix. There's a big divide, and then there's being a world champion. There's very few world champions. It's the ultimate goal in the sport to become world champion. So to win one of those is something that stays with you, and it
kind of immortalizes you, doesn't it, in the sport?
Oh, I've cooked it.
That's all right.
It's in the heather on the left. It's not even made the path. Ah! Oh, that's brilliant. Made it right through
the middle, right?
Yeah, because it's always going right towards that bunker, but you're never going to get there today, I don't think.
That'll do. Damon, do you have any regrets regarding your Formula 1 career?
It wasn't long enough. I didn't start young enough. I'll never know whether I could have had a longer career. I started when I was 32, 33 really, which is very, very late, ridiculous. And I decided to stop when I was 39. I didn't want to be a 40-year-old racing driver, but nowadays that's not seen as such an obstacle.
Yeah, you obviously, you kind of rejected my father and my grandfather, who you've known for so many years. They offered you a drive at Stuart Grand Prix. Tell me about that. Why did you turn that down?
Rejection is quite a strong word, Lucas. I think it was a situation where I would have had to have taken a leap into the dark.
Yeah.
It was too unclear exactly what was going to happen.
You went to Jordan. Was it Jordan? No.
No, I think it was. Wasn't it Arrows?
Arrows, maybe, yeah.
Jordan was a coming team. It was in a position to win.
Yeah.
So it was quite a bit of a no-brainer, frankly. And also they had a 2-year contract. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to stab.
It was the unknown with Stuart Grand Prix.
It was too much unknown. Yeah. I can admit to having been very upset turning down your granddad and Paul and your dad. It actually was a very difficult thing for me to do. This is nice.
You got it?
Yeah. It's sort of underneath some heather.
Can you reach the green?
Just before, eh?
Can you reach the green?
I don't think I can reach the green from here.
Well out. Yeah, well done. Almost hit my ball. Great strike.
Except it's gone completely the wrong direction.
Great. It's not. Nah, it's drawing
Maybe
back.
I was pointing over there.
That's okay.
That's probably gone in the hole.
You obviously lost the '94 championship in a very controversial way.
Yeah.
How did you kind of, what do you remember about that kind of championship deciding race weekend in Adelaide?
I kept the championship alive from Suzuka the race before, so I'd driven out of my skin to keep the title hopes alive. And we went on to Adelaide to decide the championship. And Nigel Mansell had been drafted back in, and he was there, got pole position, and I was behind him, and then Mike was on the front row, so it didn't look that optimistic. But in the race, we just disappeared and left everyone for dead and fought this battle out for the championship between us, and it was intense. There was a lot of interest. You can imagine the whole world's press had come down, the world title was going to be decided, and Michael had never won a championship before, so it was all new territory for everyone. I'd never won a championship, and we'd had the loss of Ayrton Senna in '94, so all in all, '94 was a monumentally demanding season.
Yeah, mentally I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and emotionally.
You know, when you had that incident, he kind of ran wide. He was quite a bit ahead of you, a few seconds, right?
Yeah.
And then he ran wide, and you suddenly got an opportunity to overtake him as he came back on the track.
Correct, but I was just behind one corner behind. I never saw him hit the wall. So what everyone could see from television was that he'd banged the wall, and he'd probably got a damaged car. So all I saw was this car squiggling around in front of me, and thinking, well, he's not got any traction at least, you know, and I'm going to make a lunge for it. What I hadn't factored in was, and what we still had to learn about Michael, was that he was not going to very willingly let people past.
Yeah.
So it ended with a crash, and both of us were out, but because he had more points, he became world champion. And people look at that and go, yeah, but you should have won, it was outrageous. And I go, in any sport, there's the rub of the green, like golf. There is a bad call, ref didn't see the handball, whatever, they didn't blow the whistle at the right time. That's the vagaries of sport. You know, it's not an exact science, and once you enter the arena of sport, you have to abide by at least some sort of officialdom. If it's totally outrageous, then you can appeal. They still have appeal processes, but because of the season we had in '94, I think that there wasn't an appetite to appeal. Everyone wanted to get the thing done and move on, so that stood.
Did you ever have a private conversation with Michael about that? Kind of a one-on-one, and just go, Michael, what were you doing? Like, you point blank took me out.
Yeah, okay. Oh, here we go.
Died.
It's not very safe here. But, I didn't even know there was anyone else out there.
Sorry, back to what we were saying. Did you ever have a conversation with Michael, just one-on-one behind closed doors, and go, Michael, what were you clearly tried to take me out there?
Michael didn't let people get too close to him, especially competitors. You know, so I didn't really. What can you say? I saw him the next day, and at breakfast, and I just said, "Well done, you know, you've won the championship."
Did you have a good relationship with him?
No, I don't think he didn't. He was a competitor, and he could demolish you with one word or one sentence, you know, in the press. Nowadays, the drivers are very close, it seems. They seem to have quite a lot of, they do things together, which we never did when I was racing.
David Coulthard said the same thing to me. David said that, you know, back then no one flew to races together, no one did this. He goes, now they're all jumping on private jets together. And David was saying, he goes, back in our day, we were all, you know, we all kind of not hate each other, but it just wasn't that kind of like, I'm not going to fly to the same race with Damon. Even if we're taking off the same airport, landing at the same place at the same time, I'm going in a different aircraft to him.
Yeah. Oh, I sculled it. I let it flip. I flipped it. That's what happens.
Yeah. Oh. It is what it is.
Oh. It could be Lando Norris coming in from Nice or south of France to go to Woking.
One of those playboys coming in.
Yeah. Oh, see, now that's the other one, the stubbed one. Oh, God, I hate it.
Golf's a great game, isn't it?
Yeah. It doesn't matter what you tell yourself. You can tell yourself, don't choke, and you choke.
Hey!
Right, I'm not covering myself in glory here. I can do better than this.
Great shot.
That's a better one.
There we go. A little bit low, it'll be right. The 1994 Imola Grand Prix kind of goes down as one of the darkest weekends in motorsport, with the deaths of Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, your teammate. What do you remember about that weekend, you know?
Well, there was an awful lot of tension in the air before we even got there, because Ayrton actually hadn't finished a race. He'd spun off in Brazil, and then he'd got biffed by Hakkinen, I think, in Japan. So he hadn't got his scores on the board yet.
And Michael
had won everything.
Yeah.
And so this was all a bit of a shock to the system, because we couldn't understand how they'd come from nowhere. Especially as we dominated the year before with the Williams and Alan Prost in that the active car. So we came into, I think Ayrton's was a bit out of water. You know, he'd come from his team that he'd been with for so long. He'd come to a new team. He'd never done that before.
There's big hype around him coming into that team.
Getting to know people. So I think he felt uncertain, and the press were piling it on, because, you know, they said, this is make or break, isn't it? You know, you've got to win this one. because you haven't got any points yet. And Michael's won 2. And so I think there was all sorts of doubts in his mind, and I think that it was tense before we even got there, before we had Rubens's crash, before Roland.
Can you remember your last conversation with Ayrton?
No, not really. I mean, I did some stuff with him in the morning because there was a PR thing we had to do, and also the driver meeting, which used to be on the Sunday morning before the warm-up? Yeah. I knew that he had been affected badly by Roland, what happened the day before, so I kind of gave him a wide berth, I think. I didn't really get too intrusive.
Well, I think I heard something about in his car, he had a flag.
I heard that too, that he was going to...
It was an Austrian flag.
Yeah, so his idea, I think, from that, I don't know if this is true, but I have read that. So the thought was, if he wins a race, then he'd...
Hold the flag up.
Yeah, he'd express his feelings that way, which would have been a nice touch, but sadly we never got that far. Oh, that was nice.
Good shot.
Oh, you see, now, that's what I heard, is that professional golfers hit their short irons low and their long irons high.
Well, so I hit a 56 degree there.
I hit a 56.
So I went with I went with a chip one. You want to kind of have that low, spinny, so that, when you're saying
How'd
earlier,
you do that?
Catching it clean.
See,
it's really as simple as that. Off the mats is a little bit easier, you know?
So if that was a green, that would have bounced once and checked, would it?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it kind of did, but it probably would have checked a bit more.
Oh, I love that.
Shot.
That's not bad, huh?
That's pretty good.
I like that.
On camera as well.
Gimme.
Gimme. Oh.
That's in. That's a half on that hole. Good.
Damon, we're going to do some quick fire questions,
Yeah.
okay? So I'm going to ask you some questions, and the first thing that kind of comes to your mind.
Oh, God.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Flying. Okay, and this you said.
Yeah.
It's the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay.
Favourite band?
Band. Favourite band is the Beatles.
Beatles, okay. If you weren't a Formula One driver, what would you have been?
I would have been Kelly Slater.
Surfer.
Or Jerry Lopez.
Favourite racetrack?
Can I expand on it?
You can.
Okay, my favourite racetrack probably is the old Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch. Okay, I'll leave it there. Yeah.
Interesting. Favourite helmet?
On a motorbike.
On a motorbike, okay, you didn't...
Or Formula 3 car. Anyway,
okay.
On yeah, next.
Favourite helmet design that wasn't yours?
Favourite helmet design wasn't mine. Peter Gethin, he had a shark.
Peter Gethin?
Yeah.
If you could have one do-over in terms of your Formula One career, what would it be?
A do-over?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone down the inside of Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point. That's a fair point. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
That's good, isn't it? The best food, you've got 2 eyes, 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Everyone's the same. Rank these 4 F1 drivers in order.
Yeah.
Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen.
I think it's very difficult to actually just make an order. You have to have a criteria next to that. For what, what person, in what way are they better than the others? And that's sheer speed, Ayrton, unbelievable natural talent, just innate natural talent is Lewis.
You not put Max down to natural talent?
Max has got natural talent, and he's got very few weak spots as well. Michael was someone who he built himself. I think he just became a machine, to a winning machine, and through hard work and knowledge. And that can be said of Max as well. And I'm not saying the others didn't work hard. They work hard as well. I mean, they're different. It's like saying what's better, blue, green, or yellow. I
know they're all.
I don't know.
I mean, these are arguably the 4 best of all time. You
Yeah.
could probably put they're in the conversation, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you very much, Damon.
Right,
I really appreciate it. It's been amazing.
Yeah, good.
Guys, thank you very much for watching.
Yeah.
Be sure to tune in for the next episode. More guests like
How's
this.
my hair?
Yeah, it looks amazing.
I have the woolly hat on all the
Stunning.
time.
Guys, please like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Comment. Let me know what you thought about the video. And be sure to look out for the next video. Anyway, thanks a lot. See you guys.